Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, dear colleagues and friends in the insurance industry. Thanks for joining us yet again in the continuing series of webinars designed to help you, our dear PIRA members, in your respective digitalization journeys. This webinar today is entitled Collaboration, Innovation, and Agility in an Ever-Changing Digital Era. A timely and important topic for the insurance industry, whose traditional distribution channels are set to be disrupted by new advances in technology. We are very fortunate to have the chance to collaborate with Iorta TechNXT Philippines, which is part of the group of Iorta Technologies, recognized as the leading solutions provider for the digital transformation of distribution channels. To introduce our guest speaker, please welcome PIRA's Communication Officer, Ms. Malu Lorenzo. Malu, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mitch. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker. Mr. Dipak Nair is a distinguished tech leader with over 24 years of experience transforming insurance businesses across life, non-life, and health sectors. He has also led solutions across the BFSI, manufacturing, e-commerce, mobility, and super app domains. India first, innovations to his credit. A few of which include mobile app, first short code SMS service, BFSI's first active data warehouse, first to achieve instant issuance in life insurance, and a member of the prestigious Gartner Research Board. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dipak Nair, Chief Technology Officer of Tata AIG. Dipak?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, you are, Dipak.
Hi, good afternoon. It's a great pleasure and honor to be here amongst the esteemed members of the PIRA Association. Very happy to share some of the insights coming from India. And what I can say is this is a lot of hard work put in with benchmarking a lot of industries across the globe. Just to give you a brief, I come from insurance, both from a life insurance experience and a general insurance experience. Having spent my career with the Prudential Group in India, it is ICICI Prudential, and now with Tata AIG in the general insurance space. So more than a decade of experience in life, and now in general, undergoing digital transformation in both life and general. What we do here is specifically benchmark ourselves across the best in the globe. So what we did is we initially benchmarked right from the Southeast Asian market, especially China, for example, Penang, and the European region. When I was part of Aviva, we used to look at the European region and benchmark capabilities with the European players and the American players. So we look at the global best and see what are the key digital and tech capabilities many of the global players have, and where do we stand vis-a-vis that, while we also compete with our peers within the insurance industry in India. And I think if you want to be the best, I think you need to benchmark with the best. And there is no dearth of learning and the opportunity to learn from across the globe. And when the team at Iorta Next approached me, I said, I'll be very happy to share the journeys that I've gone through, that Tata AIG has gone through, that some of the snippets of what you see here is also what one did when I was in ICICI Prudential. And let me tell you, I have very fond memories of Philippines.
Camera is off. You could probably put it on. It will be, I think, easier for people also.
It was on. Just one second.
Yeah, it's on now. It's on.
Maybe while I'm sharing the content, that time it is off. Okay. Am I visible and audible now?
Yes, you are, Dipak.
Okay, happy to be here. Like I was saying, I have a very fond memory of Philippines. While I was in Prudential, I got a chance to visit Manila and Cebu for a tech conference, which was the Prudential CIO, regional CIO conference, and I did get some insights about the industry there. I'm very happy to share the insights and also tell you that the industry that you are in is also very fast-paced, very challenging environment, and in many ways very similar to what India is, because we share a fairly common DNA in terms of level of cultural, the mix and the Southeast Asian flavor, if I may call it that way. With your permission, if you're right, may I go into the presentation?
Yes, please. You have permission to share your screen.
Yes. Is my screen visible now?
I'm afraid not.
What about now?
Yes, we can see it now.
Okay. So the topic today we have is collaboration, innovation, and agility in an ever-changing digital era. And I presume that even in your industry, you are constantly, facing the challenge of newer business models emerging and newer technology also emerging on a daily basis. I will start with giving a bit of a context about India. And I thought it is important to share with all of you and maybe have some takeaways for you to understand the geographical market and how this country is evolving. And what we are seeing here is there is a big transformation happening not only at industry level, but at a country level. And the key things which are driving it is, one is what we call as the UPI interface, which is transforming the way payments are done. The second one that you see on the screen is Aadhaar, which is the unified ID across the billions of Indians that are there, and almost everyone has an ID now, and it helps in the KYC journey for us. Banking has been a big focus for the Prime Minister and the government. So a lot of even the lower income group, lower strata of the demographic citizens are now covered under the banking umbrella. And there is also a push around the digital health mission, wherein there is insurance as well as creation of the digital health record. Now, again, that helps in both life insurance as well as health insurance. And these ecosystem play is something that, and what we are seeing now is globally, everybody and every country is also catching up, learning from each other. The second thing that we are seeing is in the industry itself. The IRDA, which is our regulator, is also becoming more open and conducive to business. And just to give you a very recent example, they have come with a regulation, or rather a ability for us to file and use rather than, use and file rather than file and use. Basically a sandbox environment where you can experiment with new product and new product construct and innovation around the product itself. So when the government is doing a lot of it in the digital space, when the regulator himself is basically promoting digital and tech, and a lot of insurtech companies are coming up, a lot of insurance companies are going the digital route, as traditional insurers, we also need to see how we can leverage this and how we can grow on top of what the environment is providing to us. So that is the context on which we started our journey about 5 years back. I joined Tata AIG in 2016, and I would be sharing with you the journey that Tata AIG took and how we transformed from being a laggard in technology to now, I can say, amongst the top 2-3 players in the benchmark capabilities within the industry. I remember when I joined back in 2016, our CEO said that we are 10 years behind, in our technology journey. And just recently in the board, we said that, okay, technology is the strength of the company. So that journey is what I'm going to share with all of you. After the India context, let me take you to the industry context. What is in the Indian insurance industry, how does it look like? It's a very crowded market. There are about 67 total players across life, non-life, and reinsurers. Within the non-life sector, about 35% of the market share is for the motor, but 40% market share is for health. 25% market share is for other commercial lines business, the property and casualty that we call. And life is a separate sector. If you see the overall life, industry itself is a very large chunk, wherein the public sector LIC is holding about 64%, while the private sector is holding about 36%. So it's a mix of public and private sector. And within the private sector, there is fierce competition. Now, coming to the Tata AIG context, I was telling you about the journey that we undertook. Just to give you a few numbers, in 2017, we were doing around 3.7 million policies. And FY22, we did about 12.4 million policies. Our GWP was 3.9 thousand crores. And in FY22, we did about 10,000 crores. And from market share perspective, in this very fierce, competitive market, we grew from 3.2% to 5.4%. And what we credit this growth to is purely tech-enabled transformation. And the way we see this transformation is, we look at in 3 significant areas. The first one is what we call as automation index. So automation index is the yesterday category work that we do, which is to see how much of our transactions, our processes are automated. Back in 2017, we were about 25% automated. Right now, what we see is in the benchmark, we are 100% paperless, 100% automated in all our processes across functions. The second thing that we talk is the digital journey, the digitalization coverage, where when we began, it was nothing. And now what that we see is we are almost 75% done, about 75-80% done right now. And it's a continuous journey. As new products come in, you need to keep digitalizing them. And the higher level work that we have started doing now is the autonomous capabilities. So I will put it like this. Automation index is the yesterday category work. Digitalization is today's work. And autonomous capability is tomorrow's work. So yesterday, today, and tomorrow. This is the theme that we took to digitalize and to enhance our technological capabilities. So we have started with the autonomous capabilities. Autonomous capability, when I speak, is about automated underwriting, automated claims adjudication, and other automated capabilities across different business processes. How we were able to do this was we created agile teams across 15 streams to do so much of parallel work. And we executed almost 150 plus greenfield projects in the last 5 years, because of which we are able to increase our automation levels, our digitalization journey, and create autonomous capabilities, as a result of which you saw the growth numbers which are on your left. Moving ahead, I will be sharing some of the results that we got. I think I'm happy to have some of the business leaders here. This will be of interest to them. So our digital penetration today of overall business that we do is 95% for zero touch policy issuance. So 95% of the business, there is no human intervention, there's no human touching any of the processes there. In the digital payments space, we are about 91%. Another thing on the customer self-service, 66%, and now in the latest figure, about 70% plus we have crossed. The number of transactions that the customer himself is doing of the total transaction is about 70% now. And these are the key metrics that are the real business benefit that organization has got through the technology transformation that we did. We are able to issue 150,000 policies in a day. In fact, we recently did, before the closing of the year, in one of the days, we did 160,000 policies in a single day. That is the kind of volume that India provides, and our systems need to be scalable and work at that speed and capacity to handle such volumes. So these are a few of the results. These are available in the public domain. We can share some of these. Again, on the claims side, the results are there to see. 100% of the process is paperless. 80% of overall claims inspection that we do is through the digital medium, through video streaming, through images and image processing. Our TAT has come down for large commercial claims to less than 7 days. From earlier, it used to take 3 or 4 weeks by the use of things like drones and digital imaging. And our frauds that we identify, and India there's a big problem of different pockets of fraud, especially in the motor insurance space. So our ability to identify these frauds through our AI ML models have also increased by 30%. So some of these results, the reason I showed this result is basically to see, what these are the benefits that we got from doing what we did. And in the next few slides, I'm going to share with you how we did it. And maybe, there could be some takeaways and some learnings from that, and you could lead some of these ideas back in the companies. The way we approached was on the right side, if you see, around 4 pillars of tech transformation. The first pillar was a future-ready core, the backend system, right? The policy admin and the surround system around that. That is number one. The second one is around the digital experience layer, the front end. The third one was the data-driven decisioning. And that data is a very important factor in our business. The more we learn about data, the more we use data, that would be the differentiator between us and the competition. Any company that uses data well will be the winner tomorrow, is what we hear from the best of analysts. And the fourth pillar that we have is around innovation. How do we keep abreast of the changing business dynamics and the changing technology innovations? And how do we bring that into the organization context? So there is one slide that I will leave with you as a model of how we track both technology and business changes. On the guiding principles of the strategy, like I mentioned, we do yesterday, today, and tomorrow as 3 categories of work. And what we took a call was that rather than doing this in sequence, we will create parallel capacity to do it in parallel. So it was about the call whether we should do the urgent or also the importance, which is the last bullet point that you see. Normally what happens even in India here is many organizations are so caught up with firefighting and the urgent projects or the issues that they're not able to transform the business by doing some important projects. So what we said was, while both are important, let's create parallel capacity. That's what we did. That is what gave us those 15 streams of work, wherein we said that, okay, we will dedicatedly work on changing the business, while some people will work on running the business. We also invested in enterprise architecture. We defined the enterprise architecture, and according to that, we kind of segregated our back-end, front-end, data layer, service layer, claims layer, operations layer, and the integration of all of these things coming together. For the operations people, we took a theme called as Design for No Ops, or Ops by exception, not by norm. So basically looking at doing business process reengineering, re-looking at all the processes and seeing what can be eliminated, what can be digitalized, and what can be automated using a robot, and then remaining can go into a workflow for a human being to optimize that journey. And the last one, what I can say is, let's build for future, which I will cover in the subsequent slide, which is where Iorta Next also helped us. That Iorta TechNXT helped us in the composable architecture, which we also call as wrap drive, or microservices architecture. So very key thing that we used for us was continuously challenging the status quo, what we call as constructive destruction. So destroying the old processes, destroying the old systems to bring in new change. And we consciously said that, okay, let us not be very, very stuck up with the old systems and processes, and let's question everything, and wherever required, let's destroy the old and create new. So coming to the core, let me cover each of these 4 pillars in subsequent slides, and then probably I'll take questions if you have any. So on the core, what we did was to go from a monolith strategy to microservices-based core surround strategy. What do I mean by this? When we started off, we had a core engine, the policy admin system, which was doing everything. It was doing the portal. It was also serving as the agency system. It was serving as the data system. It had workflows within that. So everything was there inside the core. And what was happening was, our agility was taking a very big beating. So anything that we wanted to do was going into a very large pipeline of change requests or a backlog of CRs. And there was one vendor with lots of interdependencies and connections. So we said, this is not helping us to be agile. It is not helping the business to come out with new products and innovations. It is not helping us in changing the workflow that operations wants in a very fast-paced manner. What do we do with this? So we took a strategy saying that let policy admin system be a recording and an accounting system, while the non-core we will take out of the system. So what we did is basically took out all these systems out from the core. So we created a data lake by getting the data out of the core in a real-time, near real-time change data capture, which powered all MIS as well as our queries, all the queries and inquiries that the systems have to do for policy status and everything comes from the data replica. And then we created a full surround system strategy wherein we took claims out into a claims management system. In fact, Iorta TechNXT is a partner who is building the entire, they have built and delivered for many of the line of business and further building for other lines. The microservices-based claims management system, which talks to the core, but takes the entire load out of core. Similarly, the BPM engine, the rules engine, takes out the workflow and the rules, all the calculations, all the premium calculation, computation, underwriting decision, all of that we moved out of the core into a rule engine. And these rules can be changed on the fly. These workflows can be changed on the fly. You can have direct visibility of the workflow there. So this is one strategy that we did, which is core surround strategy, moving things out of the core into specific specialist systems. And we also created the digital front-end system for creating the, for doing the front-end onboarding and servicing, which is also there in the next slide. So what we did was we moved from monolith to microservices-based surround strategy. From traditional SOA, we went into service orchestration. From an all-in-one app strategy, we went to specialist mini apps. And from on-premise hosting, we went into a cloud-first strategy on the hosting side. So this is what is giving us the advantage and the agility to move fast and to come out with products faster, and to also create those curated journeys that our customers and the channel is wanting. So let me take you to the next segment, which is the digital front end segment. When we came to the digital front end, one of the things that we wanted to do was to see that we create one front end which will cater to all our channels. So we have the mainstream channel and we have the emerging channels. The mainstream channels, for example, the branches, the agents, brokers, the affinity channels, or even the B2C direct business. And the emerging channels were basically those tie-ups where we do bite-sized insurance, the retail outlets, the extended warranty attachments, the aggregators or on-demand insurance. So we wanted a system in the front end that will cater to all of these without having to copy and replicate the key functionalities again and again. So make once, use anywhere. That was the thought process. The second thing that we saw was we were a matrix organization with product as one axis, channel as the second axis, or channel partner, I can say, as a second axis, and operating models as the third axis. Just to give you an example, let's say you are selling motor through banker, but one through branch banking, second one through outcalling. So those are two different operating models. Each of these gave us a unique cube which required automation and digitalization. So our approach was to look at each of these cubes and list down what technology can do to enable each of these unique cubes. And then after that, you can do prioritization and run the projects in the parallel streams. So what we also saw was, in the nature of business, we had to deal with individual customers, corporate customers, in a retail chassis, in a group chassis, and also we were in a way dealing with government customers for the agribusiness. So we want our system to be able to cater to different types of customers that we are seeing here. Again, we also have a very large ecosystem. So the thought process was, how do we leverage the ecosystem, which I shared with you in the first slide, in the India context. How do I do KYC? Can I use the Aadhaar ecosystem? Can I use the payments ecosystem? Can I use some of the health and wellness ecosystem players to help me in underwriting my health policy, for example? How do I do a penny drop before I make a payout? How do I do different bureau calls to get and enhance my understanding about the customer's profile? So we play with a lot of these ecosystem partners to bring in a lot of capabilities which are inherently not available within the organization, but can add a lot of value when we collaborate with the ecosystem players. So our endeavor was to bring all of these together into our digital front end. And what we did was to create what you see here, the pillars, is to create multiple teams, multi-track agile teams to deliver this, number one, because we have multiple cubes of combination of digital demand, which has to be filled. We created the multi-channel architecture. And what you see here in the subsequent slides is the multi-channel architecture that is powered by the wrap drive architecture. And we planted some digital evangelists within the business teams. And the business teams took a tech-first approach. See, without business, technology is nothing. And it is the business technology collaboration and champions within the business who can drive technology and champions within technology who can understand business coming together can deliver real value. So this was the strategy for driving change overall across channels, across product and operating models, across the ecosystem players, and the collaboration through the multi-channel architecture. This translates into the core backend technology architecture. So whenever, for my technology friends who are connected, can take this slide. When we look at the technology architecture to create digital business capabilities, what we did was to look at application architecture. The components are there for your reference. Integration architecture, information architecture, deployment architecture, wherein your cloud also comes in, and the overall foundation of the security and governance architecture. Key thing which is important in this entire slide, other than saying we should be cloud first, we should have a DevOps or resiliency or scalability via containerization. One of the very important thing here is microservices. That is how we architect our application per se. And in Tata AIG, what we said was, when we work with a certain vendor, or one vendor, for example, the monolith vendor, everything that we did was copied in no time across our competition. So we said, how is it that we can differentiate ourselves and keep our innovation, keep our IP, keep our differentiation with us, that no other technology partner can say that, okay, I can just take it and give it to somebody else. So we said, let's go with the Lego block concept of building. And this is where we took the help of Iorta, TechNXT, and the wrap drive concept in saying, can we build with different Lego blocks? Everybody provides a Lego block, but how you mix these Lego blocks to create a system, and what comes out of it is unique to you. While every vendor or every technology partner that you have is providing only part of the whole system. So you leverage internal and external services as Lego blocks or building blocks, and you bring all of that together to create a system. And that is the strategy we took for our front-end development with the wrap drive concept, and the sales drive as one of the components within that. Just to get into the digital front-end capabilities per se, what we did was, we created our front-end system called as eConnect, which was powered by 4 different segments. The first sub-segment was the front-end integration and the Sell Online platform, which basically is catering to the new business transactions, the renewal transactions, and the transaction processing for endorsements. So this is one stack that looks at product, channel, and operating model for transactions to be enabled. The second segment that you see here is the SPA stack. What is SPA? SPA is single purpose application stack. So these are single page or single purpose application. It's a front-end app. For example, name change, endorsement. It is common across all products, or let's say address change, or even financial endorsements, or claim intimation. So this servicing transaction, we create 1 page per transaction, and we create a library of such transactions. And this tag is available across all channels. So the same page opens in the website, the same page opens in the mobile app, the same page opens in the agent app, and as well as the CRM. So we create once and all the front-end channels use it. This is how we are delivering omni-channel customer experience. So that also is part of the eConnect, one of the components of eConnect. The third component comes with the mConnect, which is the content and engagement side. And the last one is basically the MIS and reporting, which we delivered using ClickSense Quap over the data lake that we have. So all these four together is the digital front end, and some of these capabilities that you see are part of the functionalities and features within that, whether it is about code to proposal to instant policy across different product lines, the mobility for agents, there is reports, there are payment modes and everything. So again, this is a reference slide for that you can take from a digital front-end capability development that can happen. And again, this, if I talk, a lot of it is powered by Sales Drive, wherein you can have right from pre-sales to point of sale to post-sale all coming together. Another key important area of the sales enablement is the CRM journey, which is the sales CRM, right from lead generation to lead nurturing, lead scoring, to call center integration, to prospecting, all the way to customer onboarding and later on servicing. So the end-to-end journey of the lead cycle, and this is very important for our commercial business, where we have to do account management. There are relationship managers who go and meet the customers. A very key important thing that we are doing is having the data lake give nudges to our CRM system or Sales Drive to point our feet on street to trigger them to go and meet the customer at the right time. And this is giving a very large uptake of in the customer engagement side and resulting into customer retention as well as new cross-sell upsell opportunities while giving an uptake for the new business itself. So this is a very important factor to our digital journey. So right from lead to content to servicing to the overall capability of and productivity of the feet on street. So like I said, the third pillar was the data pillar. And this is my second last slide. And here what we do is we look at from various different angles from a revenue perspective. Again, many of these are front-ended in the sales front-end Sales Drive, like the agent churn model, agent performance. In fact, the entire agent onboarding to servicing to reporting is all part of that system. And here we also do the cross-sell upsell model. On the customer experience side, we have created a customer 360. All the campaigns and web analytics are feeding into that. Across cost efficiencies, we work on the analytical models, and risk prevention and mitigation also, we work on a lot of models. So we have a data lake, which we created on an MQ platform from TCG. On top of that, we create a lot of these Python scripts and the Spark scripts, which power the front end. So at the end of the day, the value of the data lake is only in how we use in use cases. And these are some of the use cases that I have put in front of you. That is also a very important pillar of the digital journey. Last but not the least is the model by which we do our innovation. And if I have to explain this grid, the technology side, we look at the future technologies, emerging technologies, and current technology. We map these three. People like Gartner or Forrester or other analysts do give us the inputs on what is coming in the future and what is emerging. So we track that. And on the business side, we look at current business scenario anticipated business change scenarios and future business scenarios which should come. For example, while in India there is no driverless car right now, but maybe in the future it will come. EV, for example, is at one point in time was anticipated change, but it is now current. So that is why the arrow is pointed inwards, because future business scenario will become anticipated and anticipated will become current. Similarly, future technology will become emerging technology and emerging technology will become current technology. And we map this into a 3x3 grid. So for the first segment of current and current, we look at our gap analysis, which is doable versus done. On the emerging side, we explore and pilot. And a few pilots we in fact did with Iorta Next, their innovation lab. And some of the things that we were able to do in this model is what we have mentioned here. So we do a lot of computer vision. We do a lot of OCR. We use the payment interface. We have used telematics. We have used video streaming for our inspection. We have come out with a BFIT app, which uses a lot of value-added services. We do a lot of video KYC, digital KYC, CKYC, digital contracting, and so on and so forth, usage of QR code, penny drop. A lot of these were done over the years. Some of these are, at that time was emerging. Now it is current. So while we did it, it was in the emerging technology space. I can say all of them that you see on the right-hand side have moved from emerging to current as we speak today. So we are constantly looking at the next stage of innovation, where it will come from. And that is where we look at the next. So we call it the next. And our partner here also has next in its name. That's wonderful. And we keep talking, to all our technology partners. We talk to the Gartner analysts, the Forrester analysts, industry experts, as well as business experts, to find out what are the future change scenarios that are coming, the future technology that are coming, and how we can play technology and business together to create value for the organization. With that, I come to the end of my presentation. I am happy to take questions, queries, anything that you want to ask. Also to know some of you, on screen. I would have loved to be there in person and meet all of you one-on-one, but happy to connect in any of the platforms which are there.
Well, Dipak, thank you for sharing Tata AIG's digitalization journey and where you find yourselves at this present time. We note quite a few similarities between the Indian and Philippine non-life industries, notable of which is the sandbox approach both the Indian and Philippine regulators have adopted in relation to the digitalization of both industries. We also note the similarity in our portfolio mixes, as well as in the lingering importance of agents as a distribution channel.
Absolutely.
I am sure the others in this webinar also welcomes your earlier comment where you said that you set up once and use many times. This gives rise to the keen interest of your audience today, as evidenced by the number of questions pouring in. With your permission, may we move on to the Q&A, and let me start with a few questions.
Yes, please.
I see in the chat box.
Happy to answer whatever I can.
All right. First question. What, in your reckoning, are the best examples of the use of technology at Tata AIG recently?
That's a lot of favorites that I have. One is, I would say, the core surround strategy, because moving with, let's say, it's almost like this. when you're running a sprint race, you cannot run with a bag and baggage on your shoulder. So you need to shed some. And that is what we did in the core surround strategy. So we said, let us give the front end to the front end experts rather than asking the policy admin system vendor to do it. So that is one of my favorites, the core surround strategy. And that leads to the front end itself, the wrap drive concept that we have, which is the microservices led innovation where you hold the IP. That is another favorite of mine. The third one is movement from on-prem to cloud, so the cloud first strategy. So I can say microservices and cloud first and the core surround. These three broadly is what I enjoyed doing because these were very challenging as well as very fruitful.
Well, thank you, Dipak. There's another thing. Here in the Philippines, during the pandemic, obviously we had a lockdown like many other countries in the globe. And our insurance was saying, we never used our cars. They were parked most of the time and we were paying premiums for it. So usage-based insurance started to become an idea in the Philippines. Now, you mentioned about usage-based insurance, and I think it's pegged to touch about $132 billion by 2028. How much has technology helped or is helping insurance players to pivot to usage-based insurance, continual insurance, and holistic insurance?
Yeah, a very good question, Michael. Usage-based insurance, I say, is here to stay because customers, and not just in motor insurance, I would say a lot of on-demand insurance will also come in. The demand for on-demand insurance will come in because customers will say, give insurance to me when I need it. Don't charge me for when I don't use it. Right? And this can only be achieved through technology. Why do I say that? Is because this requires the insurance company to move from the traditional route of sell and forget and remember at the time of claim to tracking the usage in the real time. So you need to have the ability to see whether the car is running or not, how much is it running. Similarly, in the other insurance space, for the need-based insurance, you need to see when the need is arising and when the need is ended. So only technology can help you to track the end user behavior and bring that into the underwriting models to price it. And these are very difficult to price because it's an emerging area, and even the actuaries are looking at historical data, and there is no history in this. So across the globe, it's about data collection and data science, which will drive the usage-based insurance, right, across product lines. And so two things you need. One is the data collection on real time, data science, bringing these two together with the ability to have a digital front end and the sensors, if I may call them, to enable the usage-based insurance. And that is all technology.
Thanks, Dipak. Related question. Any specific transformation or value that you have seen using technology in assessments, underwriting, claims processing, fraud mitigation, and all such things?
Yeah. So we use a lot of video streaming and document OCR and image processing, computer vision usage, as well as fraud detection. So for example, in the health insurance, some customer says he's non-diabetic, but in one of the, let's say, medical invoices or prescriptions or let's say in the purchase bill, you find insulin, right? Humanly, it is very difficult to go through all those prescriptions, but OCR or computer vision can read it and tell you. So we use a lot of fraud modeling. We use a lot of computer vision, video streaming across our product lines, especially in motor and health, to find and give a fraud propensity scoring with our data science. So I say that both from underwriting perspective, from a claims adjudication perspective, and fraud detection perspective, technology can help. Computer vision, OCR, video streaming, data science, these are the things which will help in building those models and building those business capabilities.
Well, in insurance, there's really a lot of moving parts, particularly for a small to medium-sized insurance company. But what is your recommendation on which part to start with, where automation and use of technology is concerned?
So, Michael, I can speak of what we did, and it is to create parallel capacity, right? And this parallel capacity will go by the business aspirations, if I may call it. So there are two things which are there. One is business aspiration, where you want to be. Second is pain areas, right? What holds you back? So what holds you back and what you want to be. So you need to work on cutting those strings which are holding you back. And you need to work on your dream and aspiration in parallel. I would put it like this, we need to work in parallel, create at least two parallel lines. One for cutting the problems, another for building capability. The more parallel tracks you can create, the better your movement would be. For example, on a highway, if cars and trucks are running on the same lane, the average speed of the traffic will be low. But if you have a dedicated lane for the trucks and you create a dedicated lane for the cars, then you will have, a more efficient traffic movement. And we are all in a journey. We are in a journey of digital, transformation. So your speed will depend on how many tracks you create to run your vehicle. If that answers, Michael.
Yeah, thank you. Related question. How challenging is it to pick innovative areas worth investing in?
Very challenging. But again, I think the best judge of this would be the business itself. What is the promise of a technology innovation? And second one, I would basically say is benchmarking. We can all learn from each other. We can learn from other countries. We can learn from our most, feared competition. There is no harm in, let's say, copying from somebody who you can look up to. At least, I'm not saying copy the full system, but basically the thought process. The idea of what things can achieve for you, right? So benchmarking is something that I really recommend everybody to do. Benchmark with your peers in the country. Benchmark across countries, across continents. Look at the best in class, players. I'll give an example. We are a multi-product line company. So we have health insurance also. In India, we have some companies called as SAHI, standalone health insurers. So we benchmark our health capability with SAHIs. Our B2C is benchmarked against the insurtechs. So we benchmark our B2C capability with the insurtechs. We benchmark our servicing capability with the banks and the information security also with the banks. So because banks will have a very high level of information security, benchmarks. So we benchmark with them, what technology they are using, what strategies they are using. Similarly, we benchmark with, like I mentioned, saying that, Penang, for example, at one point in time was very known to be very innovative and doing some stuff. So we actually met their team. We saw what Toffee Insurance was doing. We saw what Allstate was doing in the US and the other markets. I think benchmarking is very important, and you can learn from others. You can learn from others' mistakes, and you can also learn from others' success to decide on which projects are worth picking up, and some of the things maybe just park it.
You know what, Dipak, I think what you said is very important for the local industry here in the Philippines, because, very recently, the InsurTech people are starting to creep into the insurance landscape. Now, we have two major insurers that are actually InsurTech based. I don't know if you heard of Shopee or Lazada, the shopping platforms, but they recently bought an insurance company in the Philippines, and we're up, our traditional insurers are now going to be competing against these tech giants. So another thing is, these InsurTech startups are sprouting around like mushrooms. And very soon we'll be competing with somebody we never realized was there in the first place. So you're right. We have to benchmark not only against ourselves, but against others that can offer a similar, maybe even better product.
Correct. And let me tell you another key nuance. It's not just InsurTech. There are digital banks which are emerging. A digital bank that comes in wants to also create a platform to sell insurance.
Actually, that's happening in the Philippines already. I don't know if everybody's aware, but GCash, we call it GCash. It started as a online payment scheme, but they're more into that. They're a digital bank on its own, and they're offering insurance as part of their product roll-up. So yes, you're right.
So it is very important to create something called insurance in a box, and capabilities to integrate. That is why I love this wrap drive concept, because it kind of creates this very quick development capability for traditional insurers by segregating the back end and the front end.
Okay.
Your front end should be like a Ferrari or a F1 race car, which can run fast. The back end can be the truck, which is moving the containers. Right. So you need to have the Formula 1 cars, which is the front end, which can be agile, nimble, fast, and compete with these guys.
Okay. That's something to think about. Yeah, you're right. There's a question here in the chat box. It's a follow-up question on usage-based insurance. Well, here in the Philippines, motor is tariff regulated. And maybe I should answer this. Well, to Ariel Meneses, this is your question. But here in the Philippines, there's an ongoing conversation on whether we should de-tarify and go free market altogether or not. And in that conversation, we put that to the vote. And our industry thinks that we should go free market in the future. Having said that, obviously, we couldn't do it at one leap, so we have to go in stages. And with obviously de-tarification as the final destination. Having said that, UBI is a way to that. So maybe, watch this space. The technology is available here in our country. There are several insurance companies that are already looking into it, and you'll never know. Maybe within the year or next year, UBI will be a reality in the Philippines as well. So let me ask my colleague, Malu, do you have any other questions from the chat box?
Let me check, Mitch.
All right.
Okay. I think you've covered much of what was already there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this one probably is a good question to ask. Dipak, what next are you excited about?
Hmm.
A very nice question. So let me put it this way that I said, we had a segment called as autonomous business capabilities. So a lot of autonomous business capability will be driven by data science, will be driven by data intelligence, and bringing that to the front end. Just to give you an example, now with Iorta, we are working on one project called as commercial lines, which is the B2B business, nudge-based, CRM, or I would say persuasive selling. So that is a lot of data play along with the CRM play. So that is one thing. So a lot of data related stuff, autonomous business capabilities, increasing the decision making capability in the underwriting and claims, doing B2B business instantly. So SME is a very big segment for us. The SME industry is a very big segment for us. So it requires both lead management and ability to underwrite then and there. So moving from retail to corporate is one challenging area that we are looking at, and using data more, data science more, CRM more in increasing our top line and also giving bottom line push through the efficiencies in claims, right? So that is where my core focus would be now for Tata AIG, is creating these autonomous business capabilities.
Dipak, you spoke of data lakes as a unique and significant technology component of yours at Tata AIG.
Yeah.
What ways do you use it beyond the traditional data and analytics way?
So what we have done is almost all source systems are going into the data lake, number one. We have created semantic layers on top of that. All departments are using the standard BI analytics, which is there. So that I will call hygiene. Beyond that, what we created is something called as customer golden record and customer data mart. So customer 360 is one very important thing. So we do customer both from a retail customer 360 and a corporate customer 360. This is useful for cross-selling, upselling, as well as nudge-based selling for the customers, both for corporate as well as for the retail. We get early indicators of behavior and personalization as well. So that is very important. Our underwriting and claims adjudication fraud analytics is also built on top of the data lake. So a lot of data which is going in is being used to further enhance our ability to decide better. So when a claims adjudicator sits on a particular case, he gets an indicative score. So fraud indicator score, as well as a decisioning score. You get a red, amber, green indicator plus a score for that. And when a underwriter referral happens, an underwriter can also see a system generated suggested rate or a decision. Of course, the underwriter can override it. But if he overrides, the system has to go back and learn and become better. So self-learning is very important. So using the data lake as a single source of information, single version of truth, plus powering the underneath data to create new capabilities at the front end. And the areas are: one, decision making, which is underwriting decision or claims decision. Second one, fraud detection. Third is around the customer success, or customer personalization, customer data enhancement, knowing your customer better and servicing the customer better and increasing the wallet share of the customer better. So these are the areas how we are using the data lake beyond standard reporting and analytics.
I see. All right. Well, here's a question from Ms. Carlette Fama. Artificial intelligence can happen with the data lake, and the challenge is to keep the data lake updated and clean. Is that
Yes.
difficult to do?
It is very difficult to do, and that is why we have a dedicated data engineering team
Oh,
and a data quality team. So in fact, within the Tata Group, we follow something called as the TCS data framework, the data maturity framework. We call it data excellence. So we have a data office within our company. Within the data office, we have data stewards and a data engineering team. Within the data engineering team, we have a data governance mechanism and a data quality arm. So there is data governance, data quality, data engineering, data stewards, data science, or scientists. So a lot of investment has gone into seeing this. And data engineering team's job is to ensure every data is coming from the source into the data lake. And it is the ETL runs properly. There are no drops. There are no error records. And they do a reconciliation between systems. So their KPI is around data. What do you call it? Data integrity is their KPI. The data quality team is a further check on top of them. They look at the quality of the data not only from the movement perspective, but also from the content perspective. So the data quality team gives a feed to the front end. So for example, somebody is filling in junk and the junk flows into the data lake. So this team gives a feed to the front end team saying that put a validation because bad data is coming in. Then there is a team which looks at data enrichment. So customer data enrichment, data deduplication. So we run a engine which basically dedupes the data, which looks at, like, for example, the same agents have this habit of giving their mobile number to all their customers, right? So we wash it. We find out, dedupe the agent number with the customer mobile number and say that these are the numbers where we have agent's number, not the customer's number. So wash it. So the data quality team does all of that. And the data governance team basically looks at the correctness of the data to a level, Michael. Our finance team is ready to move the core accounting from the policy admin system and say that we can generate our GL feeds to SAP from the data lake. So it requires that much of, I think, rigor. It's not like one time you implement data lake and forget it. You need to keep it alive continuously.
Ms. Burnett mentioned here, it's not a question, it's she says, this is a big investment and a paradigm shift on how we look at technology, not to mention it's a full-time job. Now, my worry here is that we might be scaring our PIRA members into not teching up at all because, you know, it sounds complicated, it sounds expensive, and should we be doing it? Last words from you, Dipak.
First of all, Michael, no one is a superhero. If one can do it, everyone can do it, right? I think the key is making things simple to understand. That is where enterprise architecture comes into play, right? We have partners who help us do this. So it's not like a one-man job. It's not like one man can do magic, but you can have partners, and I thank all my partners, right? I'm here because of TechNXT invited, but the point is I'm here because they have worked and delivered. The thing is about having the right partners work for you, who are capable, who understand the subject, who can demystify this for you, you know, and you don't need to do everything yourself. You need to be in control of everything yourself, right? You can define what your business aspirations are. You can define what your problems are. You can give this, you know, you can say, okay, I have this problem, and be willing to call for people who can help you with solving the problem.
And Iorta does that, huh?
Yeah, Iorta is one of our partners who've done that. Similarly, we have, you know, partners, other partners, for example, data, the core, we have a partner, right? Iorta does the digital front end and the claims and the renewal. So we have created a renewal vault. So Iorta has done that. A lot of the innovation side, whether it is about computer vision, OCR, you know, KYC, all of that also comes from the stack, right? So a lot of the things we can just copy paste. In fact, I have done that. I have learned from my peers and said, okay, which system do you use? Why do you want to reinvent the wheel if it is available? Right? Some things you want to invent, some things you can just take. Right? So it's not complicated, just that we need to simplify our architecture a little bit. And I am not having the slide right now, but if Vishy or someone has that slide of enterprise architecture and they can put it, I can explain, if time permits, how we have, you know, segmented our enterprise architecture into 6 blocks. And I have teams who manage those 6 blocks. Right. So you can create some verticals and give, yeah, this one. Thanks, Vishy. So Michael, this is how we have, you know, blocked our architecture. So the back end is the first block. The front end is the second block. The customer servicing is the third block. Claims is the fourth block. Operations is fifth and data is sixth. So I got 6, you can read it like this. I got 6 teams working in each of these blocks dedicatedly. When you look at in entirety, it looks very big, you know, but you can, I'd put it this way, you can cut them into smaller pieces and handle it. Right?
I see.
So what we have done is this. We cut the big problem into smaller pieces, 6 categories of pieces, and within that, individual systems which will tackle a certain problem area or create a capability. So within this, if you see, the digital front end is primarily our friends here, Iorta help us. They also help us in the customer service and claims. You know, while I have other partners do the data side of it. And the data guys, through this data service block, give the nudge to the front end. So Iorta system, Sales Drive consumes the services to do the nudges. So creation of the service is the job of the data guys. Right. And the backend is providing the required services for transactions, final posting. So, you know, such architecture is very important, because unless we have a very clear, visible architecture, it can become very overwhelming. You are absolutely right. You know, it looks very overwhelming and complicated, but when you cut it into the architecture, it will become easier to understand and bite and solve. I hope that helps, Michael.
Yes, it does, definitely. But I have a question from my end. Here in the Philippines, one of the pain points of the industry is the regulatory requirements. And, you know, very recently, we have been preparing ourselves for the implementation of IFRS 17. And then quite recently, they introduced ORSA. And then we have ESG to think about in the near future. Are these systems all compliant with those?
So many of these systems, if you see, are international grade, right? And when we create some of these systems, also we ensure that the governance side, when I showed you the architecture, governance security was one of the key pillars, horizontal, foundational, right? So we see that, and many of these are standard. Like for example, we undergo multiple audits across different, different regulatory and industry bodies and government bodies, right? And when I look at it, many of it is common. Whether it's access control, data security, data privacy, right? Some standards. Yes, data definitions across these could be slightly different, which can be tackled by data transformation, and maybe you can handle it in the data lake, when you want to report, at the time of reporting. But broadly, the contours are very similar, because at the end of the day, they are concerned about data integrity, they're concerned about data privacy, they're concerned about access control, they're concerned about ensuring that the data governance is all in place, right? And they're concerned about security overall, right? To say that the customer's interest is protected, to say that the shareholders and the investors' interests are protected, and there are no foul play. The fundamentals underneath each of these is the same. So all the systems that we develop, they need to comply to all of that, and we ensure that the data protection and data privacy, access control, authentication, authorization, all of that is up to standards.
Thank you, Dipak. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're nearly at the end of today's webinar. If you have any other questions, please let us know, or you can actually just raise your hand and we'll call on you. Well, Dipak, I think there are no more questions. Any last words from you or your team from Iorta? If any of our members would want to, if any of our members would want to contact any one of you, how do they do it?
So I am available on LinkedIn. You can just look up Dipak Nair, Tata AIG, you'll find me. Okay. So I can share with my colleagues here my coordinates. They can share with all the friends here. I am happy to connect with all of you. I always say I'm just a phone call away or a WhatsApp message away. Having said that, Michael, I'm very happy to connect with all of you. I would have loved to connect one-on-one in person. I love the country, Philippines. I would have at some point in time want to come down and meet all of you. And having said that, let me ask to our friends from TechNXT for their words, and also invite many of our colleagues who are here to please come on camera, introduce yourself. I would love to know you.
Hi, thanks everybody. This is Vishy from TechNXT. We actually have Vijay and Andrew who are based out of Malaysia also on the call, and Jeshel is based out of Philippines. So that's the APAC team at this point of time, and they will be happy to connect with you after this and kind of take the conversations forward and saying how is it that we can enable transformation, and not just as a one-time thing, but also something that's continuous in terms of the goal. That's what I think Dipak also said. It's not a one-time, it's not a forget after shooting kind of a thing. So I think in terms of those kind of conversations, Vijay is our global business director. He'll probably be able to reach out to anybody who wants any advice. And also as a consultancy perspective, it's not just about selling or something, about solving problems for us. That's the way we go, and that's how we engage with Tata AIG also, to say, hey, listen, the points that Dipak brought out in terms of saying, there is a problem that we need to fix, and what is it that we want to the next stage. So if there are problems that need to be solved, we'll definitely be able to put our heads together and solve them. And thanks for the opportunity again, Michael and Pira.
Thank you, Vishy. So your person on the street would be Giselle.
Yeah.
Giselle, would you like to introduce yourself, please, and perhaps let us know your contact details?
So, hello, good afternoon, everyone. I am Rachel Perasanave from the company of Iorta Tech Corp. And you may reach me through my email address at jhlr@iortatech.com. And also, I have my email address, email and contact number indicated as well. If you have any clarifications, you can just send me an email and you can contact me through Viber or WhatsApp as well.
Thank you, Giselle. We will be sending those participants today copies of Dipak's presentation deck, and we'll include your email contact so that
Sure,
our
sir,
friends from
Michael.
PIRA or from our member companies can contact you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Our
Thank you.
friends
Thank you,
from
sir.
Iorta. Thank you,
Thanks.
Dipak. It was
Thank you.
very useful.
Thanks for the opportunity to connect with all of you. Hope to see you someday in person.
Looking forward to that. Meanwhile, can we stay, please, for just one photo opportunity? If everybody can turn their cameras on, and my colleague John will be taking pictures. And we'll send it to everyone. John, please let us know when you're ready.
Hi everyone.
Hi, John.
Hi, wonderful to see everyone now.
Done na sir Rich.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you at a future PIRA webinar. Thank you for joining us. Stay
Thank
safe.
you.
So much.
Thank you so much.
A lot, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a great day.
Hi Mitch.
Thank you. Oh, hi, George. How are you doing?
Pretty good, thank you.
Nice to see you, George.
You too.
Hi, Sir George. Nice.
Hi Giselle.
Yes, sir.
Hello VJ.
Hi, hello sir. How are you?